transmissions. Saying something is one thing, and sort of being able to transmit language and understand information is something different altogether, entirely. So we mentioned yesterday there'll have been a point before we learn to speak in the way we speak that we use other ways to communicate. We still do now. Anyone know roughly what percentage we speak non-verbally?
Non-verbal.
Yeah,
that's the majority.
Yeah, depending on what you read, there is like 50-something%, and tone obviously is 20-something%, and so on and so forth. But now, whether that's accurate or not, we do communicate non-verbally considerably. Yet that said and done, the context of the communication is relative too, because what you say in one environment might be taken differently. A different environment, like we mentioned yesterday about the comedian, what the comedian says, and elicits a joke in one environment, if he says that or she says that in a different environment, it might be taken in a different way. So part of the challenge, or part of the development from when we're born and we learn to speak is the transmission, understanding of information, and also the social aspects of language as well, what's going on in the context of communication. Now, sort of going back to babbling, and anyone ever been around babies who babble? You know, obviously the baby babbles. Now, in different countries, by the way, what's really interesting, that speak different languages, in the first year when the baby babbles, they have a different way of babbling, a different tone, a different theme, different vocal. That might be something for you to sort of go away and explore any time. But it's quite interesting, really. And let's go back in time a little bit. So between 1 and the age of 1, roughly, the baby, we talked about that yesterday, starts to produce words. Up to about 18 months. So the words start quite slowly. I mean, what are some of the first words that the baby starts to say? What are some of the sort of first words?
Mama.
Yeah. So generally speaking, you got these sort of first words. Then there's an explosion of words between 18 months and 2 years of age. Anyone sort of take a note of that, where there is that sort of explosion of words? Now, by 2, the child should be producing a good few words. By about 2, a good number of words, roughly about 2. The child should babble before they speak. If the baby goes straight to speaking, then that obviously, could be a sign. Not that I'm a pediatrician, but I pretend to be. Sorry. Well, development. From a development point of view, the baby should babble. So it's like nothing specific, but it could be developmental. Not necessarily, obviously, you have to get. But the point being, the babble begins before saying the word. It's just a general rule. It's very rare that a child is going to speak straight away. But anyway, cutting a long story short, 2, roughly, the words are going to be as many words as you can probably remember or count in that respect. So that 2, then you get the phrases. Okay, you generally have to put phrases together. Now the phrases are quite interesting, really, because they start to produce these units of meaning. So, for example, a unit of meaning is me spoon, me bottle. Not, for example, meow cat. Not an associative reference, more like a meaning, an understanding. Between 2 and 3, then the child starts to speak to the adult in short phrases. So you'll know, if you've been around 2-3-year-olds, you can sort of start to converse a little bit with the child in short phrases, but they'll sort of babble. You ever seen a child having that babble, that sort of inner commentary, while they're sort of playing and then babbling away, and then you might sort of chip in and sort of watching the TV and they're playing and babbling, and you might chip in and speak to the child and they can sort of answer you back, and you've probably been there before. So 3 and 4, the child starts to have a conversation. Anyone sort of have or had 3 or 4-year-old by that phase, all things being well from a developmental point of view, you can start conversing with the child at that point. But before 3, they can answer the question. Okay. Beyond 3, the child starts to process what you said. So it's about beyond 3, they can process it. what you said and say something relevant in the context, in adverse to answering a straightforward question. For example, did you do that? Yes or no. They can get the context of what you're saying. Does that sort of make sense? Where they can sort of start to process what you mean at that point. There's relevance there. Inadverse to just answering it as a response. So, and they also start to ask questions. You'll know, anyone who's been around a 3-year-old, that 3-year-old, you get a lot of questions, don't you? Yeah, exactly. And the sort of questions are around at that point is, what was that? Okay. Then there is the who question. Who's that? Okay, so this probably makes sense to a lot of people. And even though you might not be there, it's at that point the child knows you're somewhere. Okay, so you might not be in the room in between that sort of 3 and 4, but they know you're somewhere. They have an idea. And the sort of questions they start to ask when they get to 4 are a little bit different. They ask the why question. Okay, so the why question. Anyone hit by a lot of why questions? Yeah. So why is the sky blue? Why does this do that? Why does the dog bark? And so on and so forth. Out of curiosity. Not like, for example, why do I have to eat that? It's more like, well, why? So they're quite curious, moving towards 4. Between 4 and 5, the child can tell you things that are happening now. And occasionally they can sort of relate to tense between that age. And the development of language, the interesting thing is here, is a child can tell you things that are not happening now. Like, for example, mummy dropped a spoon, or little Johnny fell off his bike, or broke the toy at preschool. So something they can use tense, they can tell you what's happening. They can recall things sequentially and make sense out of them. The child will tell you things you do know because the child can figure out what you don't know. So it knows what you do know and what you don't know at that point. It's got an idea, an understanding. Because we start to develop language, the 5-year-old child knows that persuasion relies on them knowing what the other person wants. Okay? And the child wants what the child wants them to want, and knowing how to get from one transition to the other. And it's a little bit of a journey, just a bit of insight into the development, sort of scratching the surface around language and development. And we'll sort of come back to that a little bit in the course of the afternoon, because it has got some relevance in terms of what we're doing on the actual language itself. We've got this phenomenon. It's this phenomenon of language. These 7,000 languages are spoken around the world. Give or take a few here and there that have variable differences. Now, going back to what we were doing before the break, we're going to extend what we're doing before the break, a couple of exercises we're going to do. I'm going to sort of demonstrate the exercises shortly, and then we're going to get an opportunity to practice the exercises. So the first exercise we'll do, I'll talk you through it, and then we can practice it. I shall demonstrate both, and then we can sort of go away and practice both exercises. Are really, really useful. Are you still okay to watch it? Okay, thank you. Okay, so what we do here, and I've broken it down in really, really key steps for you. So you've got some really, really key steps. So person A, so if you become person A, please, Marcus, if you don't mind. So what you do, if you sort of, perhaps you'd like to close your eyes. And as you close your eyes, just breathe naturally and normally. And notice your feet on the floor, back on the chair. As you notice, you become aware of your back on the chair. Just take yourself back to a time you felt peaceful, calm. And you go back to that time that you see, you heard, you felt. And as you notice any sort of tension in one hand, and the other hand might feel relaxed. And one hand might feel tense, one might feel relaxed. You release the tension in the hand that feels tense, and just imagine the hand that feels relaxed, spreading the relaxation in the person B is going to match Marcus' breathing by tapping my hand. I'm going to tap my hand or my foot, watch him breathe, and match the breathing. Just matching the breathing, building a rhythm. As you build that rhythm, observe person A. And now we're going to match that pattern and use language to facilitate calmness. And as you breathe, you become aware of your breathing. And as you notice your breathing, you can feel your feet on the floor. And as you become aware of your feet on the floor, you begin to feel calmer and at peace with the world. You feel a sense of calmness and tranquility. And your mind might take you back to a vacation. Your mind might take you back to a holiday, or perhaps just a walk. And you notice the greenery, and you can smell the freshly mown grass. As you notice the grass, you can hear some sounds in the background, and you can let those sounds go. Off in the distance. This is your time. Feeling calm, peaceful. Just enjoy the moment. And in your own time, in your own pace, you can just come back to the here and now when you're ready to come back. Okay, so that's the exercise. So just to break it down in pairs, what we're doing. So person A, which was Marcus in this exercise, close his eyes. And what you do to begin with is match the breathing cycle, your hand tapping or your foot tapping, either or. And then the idea is to communicate the concept in the rhythm of the breathing. So then you start to observe the breathing and start to take that breathing rhythm on. And then whilst you're sort of matching person A, which is Marcus, kindly volunteered in this exercise, you match the breathing and facilitate through language a more calm state. Okay, so it's like facilitate a more. Is everyone okay with that? We sort of have a program. Before we sort of go away and practice that, the other exercise we'll do now is going to be another exercise we're going to sort of cover as well, going forward. So I'll break it down into exercises. So what we do here, we'll do a demonstration shortly. So person A extends their hand for a normal handshake. So when I demonstrate the exercise, Marcus B, person A, he'll extend his hand for a normal handshake. I'll do a pattern interrupt. Now he's going to be expecting it, so it won't be as much a surprise as it would have been if the case was different. But what I'll do, rather than shake his hand, I'll gently grasp his wrist and then bring his hand with his fingers just in line with his eye level, the palm, And once I've done that, I'm going to get him to focus on the palm and just bring it closer. And as I bring it closer, I'm going to use suggestion and carry on speaking hypnotically. And then permissively ask him to sit down and carry on the trance work. So it's the Erickson induction. Okay, I'll demonstrate that. I've broken it down for you to key elements there, going forward for you to sort of practice shortly. We shall do that. So it was just hypothetical of you to walk in the room. Okay, so just sort of come forward, shake my hand, okay, gently, and just focus on the palm of your hand. And as you focus on the palm of your hand, perhaps close your eyes, breathe naturally and normally. As you breathe naturally and normally, you just want to gently sit back on the chair. So bring the chair back, breathing naturally and normally. As you normally keep your hand here. And as you breathe naturally and normally, you come away your feet on the floor, back on the chair, and you notice yourself feeling deeper and deeper and deeper, calm and peaceful. And as you feel calm and peaceful, you can gently let your hand come down. As you let your hand come down, you can hear the sound in the background. And as you hear that sound in the background, it brings a wave of relaxation very soul of your body. As it brings a wave of relaxation very soul of your body, you transport yourself back to a time when you felt calm and at peace with the world. And breathing deeper and deeper, and feeling calmer and more relaxed. And as you begin to feel more calm, release any tension. And it's a little bit like, for example, when it's a nice warm day and you see a really inviting swimming pool in the background, and you think, well, perhaps I'd like to go for a swim. And it's a warm day, a really warm day, and you can feel the sun beating on your shoulders, just warm enough. And you walk towards the pool, and you dip your toes in the pool, and it just feels a little bit of a chill, but as you bring your foot in, you sensitize to the water, and then you carry on walking, and the water goes to your knees, and you feel like you've got a sense of chill, and you breathe deeper. That breath we take, and in breathing, you can't get the last breath, you can't breathe the next breath, the only breath you can breathe now. As you go deeper into the pool, up to your waistline, it's a little bit of a chill, but you sensitize to the water, and you sort of carry on walking in the water. And the sun rises in the east, and it sets in the west. And in between, you might think of the past, and you might think of the future, and you think about the things that have happened in the past, and you think about the things you've got in mind to do in the future, and you realize the only moment you have is now, and you bring anything that needs resolving in the now, trusting in the knowledge of the unconscious mind. And I know you've been thinking about things, and you've been running things through your mind. And that could be doing dissertations, or that could be having to think through new ideas, and that could be wondering what the next step is. You can get to a roundabout, and you know you can go one way, or you can go the other way, and a slight degree of variation will take you to a whole new destination. But one thing you do know, you've got flexibility. So the hard work has been done. You've planted the seeds in the garden. And when you plant seeds in the garden, you don't jump and stamp and will them on to grow. You water them, you nurture them. You've harvested the garden. You've done the achievement. And there's a world of endless possibilities that are going to open up for you. And you can go one way and you can go the other way. But it doesn't really matter which way you go. Whichever way you decide to go will be the road or the way you need to go to that point. So you can start to think now, going forward. The hard work has been done. And just like seasons, spring, summer, winter and autumn, you're in season where you've cultivated your harvest and it's ready to grow. You've done an amazing achievement in university that you're going to be proud of. And you know if you've done that, there's many other things you can do too. And what an amazing achievement it was. It's such a high grade. And now you can put things on ice and just breathe and give yourself some time to just process and look at the world of endless possibilities. And start to think, what if I go beyond all my expectations? And when I achieve the next stage of what I want to achieve, what it's going to look like, feel like, sound like, taste and smell. And you don't have to have a plan from now, because you know the way the conscious mind works and the unconscious mind works. You ask a question and you really focus on the answer. Now I want you to imagine putting all the questions that don't serve you into a bag and leave them outside for now. And you can think about that if you wish. And for now, it's ask some new questions that are relevant to where you want to go. It could be, what do I need to do? Who do I need to be around? Who do I need to be? Who do I need to support me? What if I go beyond my expectations? And when I achieve the next step of my career, what would it look like, feel, and hear? And you know now the question you ask is going to preoccupy your conscious mind. Your unconscious mind's going to go for a search to find the answers. And just like you did in the previous chapter, the new chapter, you can plant those questions in the unconscious mind. And it will find the answer for you. And then you can consciously, procedurally, some things you do to get to where you want to get to. And just breathe and trust in the power of the unconscious mind. And in your own time and your own pace, you may be aware when you come back to the here and now. You may be aware tomorrow, or you may be aware next week. But it doesn't really matter when you're aware, because you know you'll be aware when you need to be aware. And when you are aware, you'll feel confident you're on the right path. Okay. So we're going to have a practice, and once you've done the deepen, the trance, you can do some utilization and do a little bit of work, obviously, with utilization and going forward. So what we can do is have a practice and go from there. So let's start first of all with the first exercise, and we'll leave this here so you can work on that, and then we'll phase the progression onto the next exercise and go from there. Give it a go. Fantastic.